You can start.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Shakespeare. Let's get started with the interview.
All right.
So what was your early life like?
Well, I was born in 1592. I was son to John Shakespeare and Mary Arden. I was born into a middle-class family, so I wasn't very wealthy, or was I poor. I was also born in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is 100 miles away from London.
So not being like very, very wealthy, how did you end up becoming a famous playwright?
Well, when I moved to London, I just started writing plays, and well, people just started liking it. I don't really know how I just suddenly became so famous.
So what influenced you? Why did you want to become a playwright?
Well, actually, my father, he declined around mid-1570s, so I had to step up and start making money for my family. I decided to move to London, and so I saw a job opportunity for acting and writing plays, and so the only thing I was really good at was taking, topics that I learned in school and adapting it into a poem or a play, so I just took it.
Speaking of school, where did you get your education?
I actually only just attended a small local grammar school in my early years, and it simply taught me, how to speak English properly, simple rhetoric, Greek stories, and Roman comedy, that sort of stuff.
Did you do anything else besides playwriting for your work?
I actually also did some acting, although I admit I'm not the best actor. I'm still able to deliver my lines. I actually also became an entrepreneur, and I bought some real estate leases for about 40 pounds, and I made 60 pounds a year.
How did school impact your career?
Well, with school in mind, I wouldn't really be able to, do anything without, learning how to speak English language properly. I also was able to, as I said before, take the topics that I learned in school, like the history and stuff, to adapt it into a poem or a play.
How did establishing yourself impact your wealth and income?
Well, after making myself very famous, I actually managed to buy the second largest house in Stratford-upon-Avon for my family. I didn't really live in it though, since I had to work at London, and traveling between each place took about 4 days by horse.
So did anything help you rise to your fame, or did you manage to do this all on your own?
I did receive some help. I got some royal patronage from Queen Elizabeth and King Richard I. These two love drama, and they just hosted most of my plays in their court.
So the Black Plague struck. What did you do during these times?
Well, when the Black Plague struck, basically a ton of people were dying, so the theaters closed and I wouldn't be able to, have my plays shown. So I decided to go home, and I just wrote some of my best poems during that time.
When did you write some of your most famous plays, such as Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth?
I wrote these really good plays when I became a shareholder in the Lord Chamberlain's Men, and when that happened, I just started to write really good plays since I had a really good company to act it out.
Yeah. How did you come up with these fantastic plays?
Well, as I said before, I took some of those Greek stories and I adapted into a play. Like in Hamlet, I took a story where, a queen gets very jealous of someone else, and she's overly guilty about her son, and I took that and adapted into my own play, of course.
Could you elaborate on any more of these for me?
Well, yeah, actually, some of my other stories, such as Romeo and Juliet or Antony and Cleopatra, these are all, very Roman related, and I took, the Roman history that I learned in school and adapted it into things.
So, what is your writing style like?
Well, I try to take the reader or the watcher on a voyage of emotions, and with my iambic pentameter and prose, and I try to be very dexterous and have lots of, beautiful lines and, overall devices.
So what do you think people thought of you and your writing?
Well, I thought, I'm pretty sure they thought I was a really witty, inspirational, dramatic guy who could make really interesting plays and have a cutting edge on what was a topic and what it could have been like.
Could you tell us about the theater company that your company built, the Globe?
Yeah, the Globe was, it's definitely the most beautiful, most attractive, and the most seen play house out there in London. It's on the south side of the Thames, and it's right next to the Rose Theatre.
So did you have any role models in your writing?
Actually, yeah, I had one. His name is Geoffrey Chaucer, and he wrote some beautiful plays and poems. And I literally took some of his plays and adapted into mine. They're just so good.
So are there any others?
Yeah, actually, there's this guy called Plutarch. He's, if you didn't know, he's a Greek philosopher and biographist, and he wrote a book called Parallel Lives. And in this book, it definitely gave me most of the history and stuff that I would need to use to adapt to my poems and plays.
So did you have any competition in your industry?
Actually, yeah, there's this guy called Christopher Marlowe, and since he was a pretty rich guy, he was able to make lots of good plays and stuff, and he was already famous. And so, people were always thinking of me like, Shakespeare, this guy probably didn't write any of his plays, since I didn't have, the most money or
Mm-hmm. So who are you leaving your inheritance to?
Oh, I'm leaving it to, my daughters and stuff, and I'm also setting aside some monetary gifts for my theater friends, that sort of stuff, and I'm also giving it some to the poor of Stratford, because I feel pretty bad for them.
Well, we're running low on time, but how do you think you've impacted the future world of readers, writers, and with your work?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm one of the lead role models in writing and playmaking. I think I'll set aside a very good legacy of hundreds of plays, poems, narrative poems, that sort of stuff, and that, I'm able to take these ideas, adapt it into a play, and add these beautiful lines and stuff.
Well, thank you for coming once again.